Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. Today, I'm going to review Devil Dinosaur number 1 from Marvel of 1978. Now, I'm hoping to use these reviews to look at really good comics and so pick out and understand what really makes a comic good. But sometimes these reviews aren't going to be good because sometimes when you pick up a book and think it's going to have some real merit to it, it just doesn't. And this is one of those books. Now, for my last review, where I talked about the origin of Galactus, where many people told me where the origin of that story actually came from early Thor books. Thank you very much for that, by the way. This was a Jack Kirby book, and a Jack Kirby book and story that I really loved. But today we're going to go over a Jack Kirby story and book that really misses the mark completely. Now, this book is certainly much better than the current Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur book that Marvel is putting out there. This awful, horrendous, progressive book, which has been canceled, and they take that to mean we should turn this into a television show, by the way. This old version of Devil Dinosaur from 1978 is much better than that dumpster fire, I'll tell you that. But on its own, this book just doesn't work. Although we have Jack Kirby art, I certainly don't think it's his best effort. We'll give it maybe a 7. Whereas the story, I think this is Jack Kirby's way of trying to get back to a character that he loved, which would be Kumandi from DC, which he had just created and written and drawn from, if I remember correctly, around 1972 to 1978. There's definitely hints of that old DC story within this new Devil Dinosaur story. But you can also see a whole lot of hints of things that are happening around this time, like Planet of the Apes. And one of the fun things about Devil Dinosaur that I really like about the character was the fact that Devil Dinosaur appears in issues of Godzilla, which was a Marvel comic in the 70s. Yes, Godzilla is a part of the Marvel canon. There was a very fun run of Godzilla where Godzilla got shrunken down to the size of like a rat and then started to grow and grow. And by the time he was the size of Devil Dinosaur, they actually had the both of them in the same book together, which was very 70s and very fun. But quite honestly, I found reading this book to be nothing more than a chore. And I'll give you a summary of the story just to tell you where I'm coming from, first of all. So the summary goes like this. Unlike the rest of his kind, Moon Boy doesn't fear the night. Instead, he uses the light of the moon to explore the Valley of Flame. On one such night, he saves a young devil beast who's been scorched by the heat of fire. Nursing the beast back to health, the two become one in spirit and begin to prowl the valley as its protectors. Okay, so first off, I think the reason why this story does not work is the fact that it's set in the past. Whereas you had that DC story of Kumandi, which was very similar to this in many respects, it was set in a post-apocalyptic future, and that kind of idea does trick your mind into thinking, well, this might happen in the future. But the premise of this book is that it happened in the past, and even on the first page it reads, "Since the picture of Genesis is still incomplete, this may be the most sensational origin of all time." So, what we have here is Jack Kirby saying, this might have happened in the past, we don't know. And the thing is that whereas we have these sort of proto-ape men who are called the small folk, and they live alongside of dinosaurs. And not only that, but dinosaurs of every kind. This, I think, is one of the small things that maybe I would only notice, but the fact that they have almost every kind of dinosaur in the background really kind of irks me. Because you have Devil Dinosaur, who looks to be something like a Tyrannosaurus, maybe an Allosaurus, I don't know. But you got Stegosaurus in there as well, and all these other dinosaurs. And if you know anything about dinosaurs, you know that Stegosaurus lived as far away from the Tyrannosaurus in time as the Tyrannosaurus lives from us in time. And not only that, but you have a lot of these plant-eating dinosaurs with very sharp teeth. It's just bizarre, weird. Anyways, my point is that it's very unrealistic to say the least. And I know a lot of people tell me, look, you're reading a comic book. Of course it's unrealistic. But I'm more inclined to believe of flying men from Krypton and radioactive spiders than this story in any way, shape, or form. Why? Because we know about the past. Or at the very least, we have a very good understanding of it, and this fits nowhere within any kind of understanding, even in Marvel canon, unless they want to wedge it in sideways somewhere like the Savage Land. But they don't. They want to make it part of, well, this is the origin of mankind when he lived among the dinosaurs. But enough of that. The story also is quite fantastical in your Kirby-esque way that makes no sense, like the fact that Devil Dinosaur was simply a devil beast, or we'll call it a Tyrannosaurus, but it really isn't. And the reason why he is red is because he got scorched by fire when he was young, which turned his skin red for the entire rest of his life. Again, which makes zero sense according to anything. You have Moon Boy feeding him plants, which again makes no sense, and the two of them growing up together, and after they do so, they become the protectors of this valley. But the point is that not only does this not make any sense, it doesn't have any impact on anything. Whereas, let's say Kumandi, where it's in the future and it's a post-apocalyptic future, and they're fighting for the survival of the human race, within this story, we know the human race survives here and becomes something much greater than these small folk. So really, there is no impact with this story upon the universe within which it exists. And at the same time, I would say there's no emotional connection whatsoever for you and the character that they are portraying on the page. Although maybe that's just me. I've never been one to care at all for any stories like, I don't know, Black Beauty or anything like that. They just don't appeal to me whatsoever, because you have this kid and he is becoming one in spirit with this animal. It makes no sense to me. I really don't care. So really, for me, I guess the reason why this story falls down and just doesn't work is because it violates the very basis of storytelling that I'm always talking about, your Aristotelian basis of storytelling, which is the fact that it has to be a representation of reality, at the very least in some way. But there is no representation, really, of any kind of reality here, even if it's a fantastical representation of reality, a what-if statement. That is to say, if this was possible and it occurred, then what would happen off of that? But my point is that the if statement, if this occurred, just can't get there. Like I said, it's more easy for me to believe in radioactive spiders biting people and getting spider powers than me believing the if statement of this story in Devil Dinosaur being true. And the whole point of a story is that the believability should be there, so you invest yourself within the story and within the characters and become connected to it. But I am not invested in this story whatsoever. But hey, it's good to see that even the comic greats had their struggles with trying to tell a good story. So, as I say, make comics better by reading better comics. And I'm sorry, but this is not a better comic. I'll try to have a better comic for you in my next review. All right. I'll see you later. Bye.